All right. So thank you for having us here at CES. My name is Chuck Sabin. I'm the Director for Product Management and Planning for the Bluetooth Special Interest Group. And I generally, a part of my role for the Special Interest Group and representing our member companies is to work with our member companies about what's next, what's required, where do we need to take the technology, and what do we need to do with it next. And so in 30 minutes, I can't really, in less than 30 minutes, I really can't tell you how to develop an application using Bluetooth technology. But what I can do is give you a sense for the opportunity, what we are enabling for application developers, and how to get started on that. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is to give you that glimpse into what we're doing and how you can take advantage of that for applications that you deliver to your customers or even devices that you deliver to your customers. So just a quick level set on Bluetooth technology. Bluetooth technology is a very power and spectrum efficient wireless technology. We operate in the 2.4 gigahertz band, but at the same time, it's a very robust technology using frequency hopping in order to combat any type of interference that happens within that spectrum. It was generally developed for short range to replace cables. It does come in two forms. The basic rate, enhanced data rate, BR-EDR, is generally what you see for streaming. We'll talk about that a little bit later, streaming of data between devices and phones or devices and speakers, as well as with the new specification, Bluetooth 4.0, that has what we call low energy technology built into it for building low energy peripheral devices that are collecting data and transmitting that data off to what we call smart ready hubs, and we'll talk about that. Both forms of the technology include device discovery to determine what is the device and what kind of services does it have, connection management and security, as well as the ability to transfer data back and forth between the devices. So that just gives us sort of a broad brush level set on Bluetooth technology. Now, as an organization, we've seen exponential growth associated with the organization itself. It was founded with 5 members looking to cut the cable between devices, but now we're adding over 200 members per month to the organization that are building, shipping either application, devices, services, or providing services back to member companies. At the end of 2012, we had 17,500 members as part of the Bluetooth organization. So the scale and size of the organization is tremendous. Now, how many of you are actually carrying around a device or devices that have Bluetooth in it? I should see everyone raising his or her hand, because congratulations, you're part of one of 2 numbers. One number being, if you bought your device this year, you were one of 2 billion devices that were shipped by member companies in this year, in 2012 alone. And since 1999, 9 billion Bluetooth devices have been shipped. That's more than the population of the Earth. And by 2017, the estimations from analyst firms is that member companies will have shipped close to 27 billion devices with Bluetooth embedded in it. So it's a huge scale. And why is that important? It's important because for an application developer, you become part of a very significant community and a very significant market of devices that is continuing to grow in an exponential fashion. So, what is this, when we think about, what's in it for the application developer? Let's talk a little bit about what you may know. Right? What you may know about Bluetooth today is that profiles are what define the use cases and how Bluetooth is used and how data is transferred back and forth. So if you think about Bluetooth as the language, you think about the profiles as maybe the dialect associated with that language. What is the device? How is it going to transfer? What is the data that it wants to transfer? But today, or in the past, for application developers, that data has been very tightly coupled, and it's been very tightly coupled to well-known use cases associated primarily with the phone, and you've seen a lot of it in terms of audio for headsets, for speakers, for automobiles, connections through human interface and automotive car kits, as well as the headsets that connect back and forth to the phone. But they've been very tightly coupled around those use cases. But they provide very high fidelity streaming applications, and you've seen, if you've been out on the show floor, you've probably seen an exorbitant amount of Bluetooth-enabled speakers of various types. But what you're seeing out in the marketplace today, now in CES as well, and what we've actually enabled through with the 4.0 specification, is we've decoupled that tight knit between the device and the hub, like the phone, and we've actually started to couple the profiles with the applications. So now no longer are you tied to what profile is actually on the phone or what profile is actually on the smart hub or the PC. You can now couple the profile with your application, and as you ship the application with the device, you have instant connectivity and an instant marketplace to those Bluetooth-enabled devices. So if you have a peripheral that you want to connect to a phone, it's a new peripheral, a new type of a profile. You package that together with your application, make it available on the marketplace, and download that app and ship that off to the customer, and it immediately finds that marketplace of connecting to the phone. So what this has done is it's put the control back into the application developer. Before, the control was at the level of the operating system and the device and what profiles were on the device. But now the control is back to you as the developer, as the application developer. You have that control to ship that profile into that device. And you can ship new types of devices. They're ultra-efficient, low power. They drive bursts of data back and forth, reading data, but they also have a very diverse set of robust applications as well. And this is enabled now with what we call our Smart Ready hubs, or our Smart Ready platforms. These are internet-connected platforms. They're updatable. They're basically gateways to the internet and enabling services, but they also provide native APIs for being able to connect your device through Bluetooth to the internet as well. So when we think so that leads us to really two key things that have been enabled through changes to the specification for Bluetooth. And the first is the innovation that's happened around the operating system. So you I would hope have seen the announcements by now, but the Apple is all in, associated with this model of providing an application development environment for Bluetooth devices and applications. They provide a native set of APIs for app developers, and it allows you to take your application, utilize their app store and the marketplaces for distribution. So Apple's all in on that, Windows 8 is all in on that, and you can read in the marketplace, although there's no specific announcements about it, that other platforms, other operating system platforms are moving down the same path. And what it's done is it's enabled the opportunity to connect multiples of those billions of devices to these phones, regardless of what the device type is, because you as an application developer can build profiles, applications, and connect those devices to the platforms, or connect your applications directly back to those devices. And as new Smart Ready ecosystems become available, it provides the same opportunity: native APIs, connecting devices to APIs, and connecting applications to devices. And this is huge. This is a big development for the application marketplace, something that's been asked for a long time, but is finally being delivered and finally being put out into the marketplace. And if you've walked around CES, what you've seen is the innovation that is now coming from new developers, building new device types, connecting new types of scenarios to the end users. No longer just the headset, no longer just the speaker, no longer just the car kit. It's all kinds of devices that you can think of that are starting to connect to with Bluetooth. You have things like Stick and Find, which actually is a quarter-sized device with Bluetooth in it that you can stick onto anything. So if you want to find it, you want to track it, whether or not it's your keys or your computer or your kids or your dog or whatever, you use a stick and find, and it has a Bluetooth broadcast functionality for being able to, and an application that goes along with it in order to find whatever that particular device is. And I know there's been a lot of momentum associated with sports and fitness, and I'll use that as an example in just a minute. But what we're seeing is people are thinking about things in new ways, and that's what's enabled through the applications and through the devices. Things like the wirelessly enabled toothbrush that takes brushing your teeth to new competitive levels within the family. In terms of how long you've actually been brushing your teeth. Did you do a better job than I did? This is a great one for the kids. And this one at the top, this is actually brand new, still actually in a prototype phase, but it sort of shows the innovation that's coming through. And this is actually telecell that was done by, it's basically two aerospace engineers that happened to be at a party. It was an adult party, but they all have kids nowadays, right? You know, they all have kids. And the kids decided to take that time to annoy the parents. So they grabbed every loud, battery-operated device that they could find and ran into the room and started playing it. And it started a conversation amongst these two gentlemen around, I wish I just had a key fob or a button and I could just push that button and turn the thing off. So they started going down this route of well, what if we built a key fob for that? But then they realized, well, then I have to wait for Bluetooth to get put into all of the devices. And it took them down this route of taking the battery compartment. And in this example, it's actually converting the AA battery through a housing with Bluetooth in it to a AAA. And so in line, so let's say you have 3 batteries in there. You have 2 AA's, and you essentially have a AAA with their housing. And the housing in it turns any device into a Bluetooth device. It has the functionality for turning the device on and off. It has proximity capabilities. It has all kinds of stuff that they're building into this. But essentially, their premise is you can take any device that's battery operated and turn it into a Bluetooth device. And that's the way they've been thinking about resolving their problem of turning off the devices from the kids' perspective, getting battery monitoring and status monitoring for the devices as well, and again, building an application behind that. And the reason what makes those devices smart, it is the applications. It's the applications that are actually turning that data into information. It's more than just having Bluetooth on the device. It's the application that you can enable back and forth for the user or for the services. And I'm using this as an example because I think it sort of shows the flexibility that's being offered to the application developers now with Bluetooth. And the example here is we've got 2 devices. They're heart rate monitors, one from Adidas and one from Polar. And they both are using adaptive profiles for the heart rate monitor. And both of them also supply applications for their particular devices. So Adidas has a software application, Polar has a software application. But because of the way that Bluetooth is implemented for application developers, each of those software applications can connect to the other device. So what that enables for third-party developers is that a third-party application like Runkeeper, as an example, it doesn't matter what device the person has. It doesn't matter if they have an Adidas device or if they have a Polar device. They've developed an application that can connect to both. And oh, by the way, as other devices from other manufacturers, maybe foot pods, maybe other heart rate monitors or pulse monitors or other things, they can be connecting their application into those devices as well. They're not manufacturer specific. They're enabling a third-party application environment that connects their application to those devices. That's what's being enabled through Bluetooth today. That's what those companies are looking for in terms of the innovation that comes out of Bluetooth, and is far different than what we've been doing in the past with car kits, headsets, and audio speakers. So how do you get started? Right, how do you get started on all of this? Well, we've been building out, we have a number of manufacturers that have been building chipsets and kits and so on, and we've been building on Bluetooth.org a developer site that's a knowledge center, provides developer resources. We've got white papers, we've got training videos, we've got a quick start kit, We do webinars on a regular basis that are sponsored by our member companies to talk about how to develop using their specific chipsets or their specific solutions. We provide forums for support for developers, as well as the specifications and the services XML. So if you want to get started quickly, you grab the services XML and you implement it into your application, and you get started immediately. So when you go to developer.bluetooth.org, the first thing I recommend is you actually pull down the Quick Start Kit, because the Quick Start Kit is the item that is going to increase your knowledge in the shortest amount of time on how to develop a Bluetooth application. And what it provides is, if you're a profile developer, it provides you a use case on how to define and design a profile. It provides example of adopted services XML that you can use as an example for how you can build a profile for your devices if you're building devices. And we also provide examples using proximity as well as a custom profile for a custom device, which is a Hello Bluetooth type application that you can use for a custom profile. If you're a device developer building smart devices, we also provide the source and the information on how to actually build out a smart device, as well as examples for the different the supported platforms and the development kits that are available. And I'll tell you one just quick thing for all of you is that on my way here, Texas Instruments stopped me, and they gave me about 20 of their sensor tag kits that I'll have in the back. If you want one, I'll have them in the back, first come, first serve. But this sensor kit, I just want to get it right, has a temperature sensor, a humidity sensor, a pressure sensor, an accelerometer, a gyroscope, and a magnometer and an application that you can download off of their website for testing, building your own applications. They give you all the source code and the XML for how to actually build your application against these things to test how you can actually build a Bluetooth application using this particular framework. Now, there are similar capabilities, there are similar setups for CSR. Nordic have developer kits, very similar. I'm not endorsing TI in any one particular way because we have a number of member companies that are building capabilities for Bluetooth. But I happen to have a bunch of these kits that they handed me, and so you're welcome to them. And they'll be in the back room. It's a great way to get started and get moving. Normally they're about $25 as a development kit for the developer. It's a great way to get started, and it's something that our member companies are enabling for the developer community. Also inside the Quick Start Kit is, depending on what you might be targeting, a particular Smart Ready hub or a Smart Ready platform. So we provide sample applications that are built for iOS, iOS 6, Windows 8. We've got an Android Broadcom application as well, all sample applications, so that if you're building one, you can use that as a sample and start cutting and pasting your information. We'll also be providing samples for BlackBerry as well as Chrome, and then others as others come available as well. So our objective, obviously, is to get the application developers moving and up and running as fast as possible. And also inside that Quick Start Kit is also the error interface traces. So when you're talking about QA, debugging of your application, you have examples to go from. You're not working from a cold start. You have everything you need to know about how to build an application, a device connected to a Smart Ready platform. Everything that you need to know is all embedded within the Quick Start Kit that we provide on developer.bluetooth.org. So while I didn't teach you how to actually develop a Bluetooth application, what I did do is give you a sense for the size and the scale and the opportunity that's available, but also the fact that you can go to the developer.bluetooth.org and get all of the information you need in order to get started in building applications similar to the ones that we've seen already coming out, like TetherCell, Stick and Find, and many of the other toothbrush applications, and many more that you see out on the CES floor. So I think we have a little extra time. I appreciate your time, but I'm happy to take any additional questions if there are any.
Where did the name Bluetooth come from?
Oh, Maybe someone in the audience knows better than I do because I keep forgetting it. It's actually it's a name of a, yeah, sorry, say again?
It's the name of a pirate from Norway. It's a famous pirate.
Yeah.
I don't know the relationship, but that's where it comes from.
Yeah, and it was, and I think the history behind it is it was that person was famous for bringing things together or bringing people together, and that's became the name. And Ericsson, who was one of the founders of the technology, I think was the one that sort of originated that. But it got so popular, we just decided to keep it rather than moving it on. Oh, sorry, it was a Norwegian pirate or king.
Actually, he was a pirate. I believe he was a pirate, actually.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work quite that way because in Vikings, there's not much distinction between the two.
Yeah. So it was a Norwegian king or a Viking or pirate that was bringing people together. That's where the form of the name came from, and then it just stuck. Yes.
I'm interested in developing an application for hearing assistance.
Yes.
Essentially, what it would consist of is using the microphone on a smartphone, going Bluetooth directly into a hearing aid. The problem at the moment, there are two problems at the moment with Bluetooth, as I understand it. One is that the power, which very few hearing aids have, and therefore you need to use a streamer such as the one that I'm wearing.
Right.
Another problem, which is more intractable, seems to be the latency. Latency doesn't matter when you're streaming music, but it does matter when you're trying to stream live audio from a microphone. I was wondering if there were any changes in the spec to Bluetooth 4.0 to reduce latency, which needs to be down to a net of 40 milliseconds.
So I can't speak to your specific requirement, but I can say one thing, which is I think it's appropriate from a timing perspective. I was at a gathering last night, and I got surrounded by what I think was the entire hearing aid industry around me. It was at least 6 or 7 individuals that have decided that they build the hearing aids. I don't have all the name of the companies in my head, but I've got all of their business cards in my suitcase. But they want to come together and build out the requirements associated and the specification associated for hearing aid use cases and applications. And we're going to start up a group associated with the hearing aid community, and that'll be a new group that is forming within the Bluetooth SIG to really define the use cases and any additional requirements. Maybe the latency is one of them, and bring those companies together to specifically fine-tune the requirements for the hearing aid industry and hearing aid applications using Bluetooth.
So these will be a common standard, not a proprietary standard?
They want to standardize. It is right now. They recognize that it is proprietary. They were all standing in the room with me, smiling and happy and chumming it up that they want to come together and build out a standardized specification for Bluetooth-enabled hearing aid applications. So that if you are a member of the Bluetooth SIG, you will see that announcement. I can't tell you exactly when, but it will be fairly soon, the startup of that particular group. And if you then want to join that group and participate in the requirements development for that, you're more than welcome. That's how we operate as an organization. We're a member-driven organization. It's people like you that join the organization and participate in the groups and building out the specifications.
What are the costs for joining the organization?
If you're an adopter member, nothing. It's a free membership for you as a company to participate at a certain level. Requirements building is at an adopter level. We do have an associate membership that is more of a paid membership, and that's where, as you're building the specifications and getting more embedded in the IP associated with implementations, there's a higher level of membership associated with
What
that.
level, sorry to keep on asking questions, but what level do I need to be at to join this particular group?
Adopter.
Deal.
Okay, you're in. Any other questions?
Just a question for clarity.
Yeah.
I did see proximity on there. Is that correct? So you can tell how far something is away from another Bluetooth object.
That is correct. Yeah, so the proximity issues, when you get into proximity, there's various applications for sounding an alarm or using for finding items and finding objects as well. Back in the back.
You had a slide about, it said smart ecosystems, I believe, and on there was Apple and Microsoft.
Yes.
Do you see any other ecosystems kind of forming that aren't based on a phone?
Well, well, I guess the way I would put it is Apple's all in on your entire platform. So whether or not it's the phone or it's their MacBook Air or their Pros and PC, you know, their desktop type computers, every announcement since the iPhone 4S, every new product announcement that Apple has made, rev of their hardware, has included Bluetooth Smart Ready application capabilities. So all the iPads, iPad Mini, etc., all of them have it. The only product that they have not re-released since the iPhone 4S, which was the first phone with Smart Ready capabilities in it with the Bluetooth 4.0, is the Apple TV. But if you read the blogs, you can infer what's going on there as well. Anything else? One more.
I'm just wondering on Bluetooth from a audio streaming perspective, what kind of improvements we might be able to expect, or in terms of sound quality, you know, not losing it.
So there are a number of there's actually an audio study group or an audio group that is working on the requirements and specifications within the SIG on refining the architecture behind that. You'll see improvements in terms of codec handling and so on. I don't know how to quantify that necessarily for you, but there is a very large group of very interested individuals building out new requirements for audio quality improvements in the organization. If you're a member of the organization, you can also get access to the requirements associated with that, and also participate in the building of those as well.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I think we're at time. Thank you very much for your attention and your time.